In the book of Job, we have this character, Job, who is suffering so greatly. He's faced financial ruin. He's lost all his children. He is very sick. He's lost his health. And he have three friends who come along, three of his best friends who came along to comfort him. They didn't do such a great job of comforting him. And he's going through these periods of doubt, and he's sometimes addressing them, sometimes he's addressing God, and they're having this conversation back and forth. And in the midst of his struggling and his pain and his sorrow, it's no wonder that the man has doubts about the goodness of God, etc. But one thing he does, one question he asks that is significant that every human being asks is this. Job chapter 14, verse 14, he asks this question, if a man dies, will he live again? It's the question about the afterlife. Is there an afterlife? Or do we just cease to exist completely when we die? He's having doubts about the goodness of God. Now, in the verses right after that, he starts to try to, I think, preach to himself that no, there is life after death, and it's better that he be dead and wait on God to resurrect him, and then hopefully life will be better. In fact, he expects it will be. The afterlife has got to be better than this because this is horrible, what I'm going through. But in this section, you see Job at times doubting God's goodness and would he take care of me, etc. That's in Job 14. But by the time we get to chapter 19, we see a shift in Job to where he answers his own question that he asked in chapter 14. If a man dies, will he live again? Job 14:14. But then we go to chapter 19 and look at what Job has to say. Join me, chapter 19. Starting in verse 23, oh, that my words were recorded, that they were written on a scroll, that they were inscribed with an iron tool on lead or engraved in rock forever. I find this almost humorous. They were written down, and now we get to read them millennia later, and they'll be recorded for all of eternity in the best-selling book of all time, the everlasting Word of God. Yes, Job, this is something that is coming true for you. Here's the verse we want to especially see. I know that my Redeemer lives, and that in the end he will stand upon the earth. And after my skin has been destroyed, yet in my flesh I will see God. I know that my Redeemer lives, and in the end he shall take his stand on the earth. Somehow, in some way, God revealed to Job that there would be a Messiah. This is one of the most messianic expectation passages in the Old Testament. And there's several of them, but this is right up there at the top. I know that there's going to be a Redeemer, someone who's going to redeem me, someone who's going to save me, and that in the end, he will be standing upon the earth. Again, I don't know what your views of end times are. Some believe that we're going to go up into this ethereal heaven and this earth will pass away and nothing more, but I believe the Bible teaches that God is going to replace this earth with a new heaven and a new earth. It'll be similar to this one. It'll be paradise restored, and it'll be this wonderful transitional environment. I guess I could say multi-layered maybe. I don't know how to put it into words. Of course, I'm in good company with that because Apostle Paul said it's hard to put into words in his word to the Corinthian church. But it's kind of like, Jesus had this resurrection body that's actually referred to in the next verse, where where Job says here, I know my flesh is going to waste away, but then in my flesh I'll see God. My skin's going to waste away. My body's going to waste away. Go back to the earth. Go the way of man, to dust. But God's going to raise me again, just as Jesus was raised from the dead. I'm going to have this glorious resurrection body. In John chapter 20, Jesus enters into a room when the door was locked. The resurrection body can go through solid walls, and yet there is still solid walls. I believe heaven is going to be much like this earth, the new heaven that is, much like this earth in which there's going to be solid objects, but there's also going to have these resurrection bodies that probably can go right through them. We may some theologians even speculate that we'll be able to transport ourselves instantly to another place, kind of like Beam Me Up, Scotty. Some theologians speculate we may be able to fly. It's wonderful to think about the possibilities with the resurrection body. That it's going to be awesome. And so here, Job is hoping in a glorious future. He's believing God. He's answering his own question from chapter 14. If a man dies, will he live again? Yes, because I know that my Redeemer lives, and on this earth he shall take his stand. And though my Though my flesh waste away, in my flesh I'm going to see God. In my body, I will see God in this new resurrection body. This is great hope. Don't face the future with fear. Replace it with the knowledge of God's love, that he loves us and he will raise us just as he raised Christ from the dead. This was the hope of Job, and it's hope for us as well.